Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Trickery Domain Cleric Rogue multi-class build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. So this was a request. While this isn't the most powerful class combination, not every build has to be that. So we're going to start off as a Cleric. The Cleric itself is an extremely powerful class. I would say it's an S tier class overall because the Cleric gets a lot of things that other classes just don't have access to. I would say that this is a damage class. It does have healing, but I would rather use our attacks in combat versus spending a turn to heal. But I'll be going through all the choices and how to make this a pretty powerful build, and all the things considered. So as for our cantrips, I think that this is fine with resistance, guidance, sacred flame. For the subclass, we're going trickery. Now we get the blessing of the trickster here, which grant another creature advantage on stealth checks. This is a concentration. It's not the absolute best. We actually get better options later on that we can use, and some of the options we get are actually extremely powerful with certain items. But for our trickery domain spells, we get charm person and disguise self, which disguise self is actually pretty nice early on. If you got speak with the dead and you accidentally take out a creature, disguise yourself and you can talk to them with the speak with the dead spell. So as for our ability scores, wisdom's going to be our main stat. Now if this is your Tav or Dark Urge, use the hags here on wisdom. Otherwise it's best to probably leave it at 16. We actually want to put a lot of our points into dexterity as well. So we get some weapons here, simple weapons, spears, pikes, halberds, glaives, and morning stars, but we're going to get some extra bonuses from the thief that is going to make up for this maybe not being the most optimal. So something like this works great. A few extra points to your constitution and your strength. Rounding off your stats with something like that works good. We already have a +3 to our stealth there, so yeah, that's what we're going to roll with for our first level. The trickery domain isn't the best cleric, but I mean, at the end of the day, a cleric is still a cleric. They're very powerful. So at level 2, we get ourselves our channel divinity, and this is where we get the invoke duplicity. This is what makes the build good. To distract your enemies with an illusion within 3 meters of illusion, attack rolls have advantage for you and your allies. So that's actually really big because there's so many things in this game that if you have advantage, you get a lot of extra attacks. So stealth attacks from the rogue benefit from this, and that's awesome. So a single level of rogue at any time can be added in to take advantage of that. We also get turn undead, and we get to choose our spells here. So create water, I think, is an essential. If you got a water-based team, anyone with lightning or cold damage, create water is huge because you can cast it outside of combat. It'll reveal invisible people, and then you can also deal double damage with lightning and cold. Healing word is awesome for a bonus action heal. Being able to pick up a downed ally is massive. Inflict wounds works pretty good on this build. It's a necromancy spell. Don't always take it, but I think it works well here. And we'll go with command and bless. Bless is just really great. However, I do have a ring that is going to give bless on heal, and we can easily heal everyone with this. So you may want to skip bless if you got that ring. Guiding bolt can be another decent spell if you didn't want to take inflict wounds. The necrotic damage versus radiant damage, and it'll give advantage on attack rolls, but we already give advantage enough. And Sanctuary is another really great spell that will be taken probably at the next level here. And as for our Trickery Domain spells, we get Mirror Image, which will increase our armor class by 9. We get 3 +3s, and those go down every time that we're missed with an attack. And we also get Pass Without Trace, which is honestly underrated. I talked to some people in the comments in previous videos about this. This gives you a +10 bonus to stealth check, so you're very stealthy with this. At level 2, we do get a lot of spell options here. I think Spiritual Weapon is one that you always have to take. So summon a floating spectral weapon that attacks your enemies alongside you. I'm also a huge fan of Hold Person. Command and Hold Person are two really great crowd control spells that I'd recommend having. Aid can be pretty good too. Enhance ability is also really nice because this can give you advantage on ability checks for a specific ability. And there's also some other benefits that come with that. We're going to go with this though. For our spells, you can also take off the Create Water if you don't find yourself using it. We'll take Produce Flame for the extra cantrip there. Take off Cure Wounds. Sanctuary is great too if you didn't want to use Create Water. I just think this is great for invisible targets and setting up a water team. Warding Bond can be decent as well too, but we're going to go with Prayer of Healing because we have a couple items that will be able to give us a lot of benefit from that, which I'll go over at the end of this video. And as for our feats, there's a couple that are great. Warcaster is going to give advantage on saving throws that maintain concentration on a spell and give a Shocking Grasp as a reaction. Also, the Alert perk gives us a +5 to initiative, And Resilience Constitution can give us the proficiency in Constitution saving throws, which will give us an increased chance of holding our concentration. So that's also another nice option. We're going to go with the ability improvement, take our wisdom up though, as I think that that's probably one of the best ways about going about this. Ideally, we would want to get our dexterity and our wisdom both up as much as possible, but at level 5 we get Destroy Undead, so whenever we turn Undead, we get a 48 of radiant damage. We also get Bestow Curse and Fear. Fear being one of the best crowd control spells in the game. It hits in a large cone of cold type area. Targets drop everything and become fearful. They have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. So dropping the weapon is huge. We also get our racial perk there. But as for our level 3 spells, I think the best, there's a lot of really good ones. Spirit Guardians being one that you always want to have. Concentration, but it deals a lot of damage. 3d8 of radiant or necrotic damage, and it can be upcasted. And you can just run around damaging everyone, so that's a lot of fun. I also really like having Glyph of Warding. And Mass Healing Word is kind of like our Prayer of Healing, but a little bit better because it's a bonus action versus an action. This allows us to still set up some Blade Ward as alongside of our Bless. So I'll be going over that once we get to gear. But Glyph of Warding is nice. We can set down a glyph, and we can kind of like lure people into it, and they take damage, or they can fall asleep within it. So that's pretty nice. We're going to go with those. I also am a fan of Animate Dead. Not everyone loves that spell, but I think it's pretty useful. Now we get our Channel Divinity Cloak of Shadows. So this uses a Channel Divinity charge. Wrap yourself in shadows to become invisible if you're obscured. So becoming invisible is a source of getting advantage on our attacks, which will give us a free sneak attack from the rogue. So that's really nice too. We also get to choose another spell here, so we can go back and take like Sanctuary if you wanted something like that. Beacon of Hope's kind of garbage as far as level 3 spells go. I really like Animate Dead, but if you have a Necromancer already, this is kind of redundant. If you don't though, not a bad thing to take. I'm going to go with those spells there for our level 6 there. Now, once we get level 4 spells, we also get our Trickery Domain Polymorph, which Polymorph is not as good as it is in D&D itself. And Dimension Door is pretty decent, a level 4 spell, but you can move you and an adjacent ally somewhere else in the battlefield, which is pretty useful to have. Now, for our next leveled spell, I really like Death Ward, but you can have someone at camp cast this on everyone, so... And same with Free No Move. Both these spells can be cast. If you have someone at camp, like Druid or a Cleric, they can cast both of these. So it's kind of, if you want it, you can get it somehow. And Guardian of Faith. So this has 60 health points. It attacks for 20 damage every time that someone moves into range of it. And what is nice about it, you can put Global Invulnerability down. Put this at the edge of it. It can attack without losing its health, which is quite nice, but Guardian of Faith's useful to be able to soak up some extra damage and also attack people. Now we get our Divine Strike Poison, which is pretty cool. Once per turn, deal 1d8 poison damage in addition to your weapon damage when you make a melee attack. So this is going to actually stack with our like sneak attack bonuses, so that extra poison damage is really nice. Another thing with this is you can have... There's a few items in the game that'll poison the target whenever you deal poison damage, so add that on, you're laughing. And for our next spell, we'll take Animate Dead, I guess. Yeah, Guiding Bolt or Inflict Wounds can be good level 1 spells too. Now at level 8, we get to choose another ability score improvement, or we can go with the maintaining our concentration. I think it's actually best to actually increase our dexterity here, and I'm going to go into why. Because we get a lot of our armor class value from dexterity. Dexterity is going to help with our initiative as well. And it also gives us effectiveness with ranged and finesse weapons. So, that's pretty good. As we proceed through the levels here, there's this is probably where we want to add in the rogue. So throwing in the rogue here now, this gives us the sneak attack, which deal extra damage to a foe that you have advantage against. And we're going to be a really good source of advantage because we have our Invoke Duplicity. So this allows us to get our sneak attacks off pretty consistently. For our abilities, I think it's actually best to go with stealth. So plus 10 to stealth checks is really great because we're going to be using stealth pretty frequently. Acrobatics is also a nice one to go with because being able to avoid getting prone on Being able to avoid getting knocked prone is huge. We can even go with, oh, we'll go with an insight there. So that's our choices. And then, now, this is my own personal feeling. You can go with 3 levels of Rogue to get the Rogue Thief. At this level, it'll give us a bonus action, hide, dash, and disengage. I personally think the Cleric is best, where we can take the Cleric all the way up to level 11, so we can get Planar Ally. Planar Ally is extremely useful. While it doesn't fully fit the Trickery domain type of Cleric, it's still an extremely useful spell that can get you another about 100 health points to soak up attacks from the enemies. So we can go with the 3 levels. We can even do like level 8 Cleric and take level 4 Rogue to get ourselves another ability improvement score and take dexterity up to 20. So those are the 2 options I'm going to give you guys. We can go all the way up. This is self-explanatory. Taking the level 2 just gives us this. Level 3, take the Thief to get the bonus action, or the extra bonus action. We can also go with the Assassin Rogue. Those are 2 options, I guess, branching from there. I personally think it's better to go with the Cleric, so that's what we're going to do with this, because I can show you a bit further into this build. But you just take the 3 levels, and on 4th level, you would take your dexterity up to 20. I'm going to show you the Cleric version of this, because I think that it is pretty great. So, for our added on spells, I guess it removed a lot of our spells, so I guess I got to put those back on. The only issue with when you multi-class is it takes off a lot of your spells as you progress through the levels, so we just have to re-input all of our spells here, and we get 2 more. Flame Strike's not bad. 5d6 radiant and fire damage is always good, and Insect Plague can be a decent concentration to create difficult terrain and piercing damage, which, yeah, we're gonna go with that, because I got a weapon that's gonna work well with this build that can give us some really nice benefits to piercing damage. At level 10 we get Divine Intervention. That's one of the Cleric's best uses. It's a one-time only spell that can help out, especially during a specific fight in Act 3. I think that's the best usage for that. For the next level spell, we'll take, you can take Revivify, return to life with 1 HP. That's always nice to have. And at level 11, this is where we're capping off the build. Planar Ally. Enough said. Beseech one other of these otherworldly entities for aid. This is worth going all the way to level 6 for, I would say, personally, because it just adds so much. We can also add in the level 6 healing. This has an interaction with the Dark Urge, so be mindful that can happen. Hero's Feast is nice, but have someone at your party cast this on the party. Gives you a plus 13 health, or plus 12 health, and makes wisdom saves with advantage. Harm is also a decent spell to use, but we're going to go with this here for our options. And I'll get into the gear options. So those are the 2 different ways we could build it. If we had more levels in Rogue, we could get our armor class up to 29, which is pretty good. If we had the 8 levels of Cleric, 4 levels of Rogue, and take our ability score up to +4. And we can even further go ahead with that with Mirror Image, which I would recommend casting this at the start of combat, or like before combat starts, because it lasts for 10 turns. Gives us a fat armor class of 37. That's pretty great. And what makes this class so good is we're good at 2 things. So I'm going to be using the Reviving Hand. So when you heal a creature, it gets the effects of Blade Ward, which will half physical damage. And when you revive a creature, it gets Death Ward. So the next time it goes down to 1 health point, or when it goes down to 0, it gets 1 health point and survives that attack. We're also going to be using the Whispering Promise. So when you heal a creature, it gets a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws for 2 turns. So that's basically Bless by just healing. I'm also using the Helm of Baldur for myself, which heals you for 2 health points at the beginning of every turn. So that actually gives us the Reviving Hands and Whispering Promises benefit, because we're technically healing someone. So we get Bless permanently and Blade Ward permanently with these 3 pieces of gear, which is really nice. Considering we got an armor class of 37, we're going to take half damage from physical sources. Cloak of Protection, Evasive Shoes, and Ring of Protection, all for +1 armor class. Alternatively, the Crypt Lord Ring is great if you want the level 6 Necromancy spell, Create Undead. It's pretty useful here. Armor of Agility, 17 armor class, doesn't give disadvantage on stealth checks, +2 to saving throws, and adds our full dexterity modifier. So we could have gotten a near 40 armor class there. That's crazy to think. I'm using the Blade of the First Blood here, so the number you need to roll a critical hit while attack is reduced by 1.
and exploit weakness. So creatures hit with this weapon receive vulnerability to piercing damage. So if we hit them, we can drop down Insect Plague, and that can deal 10 of piercing damage, and it's going to double the damage against them. So that's pretty great. I would also recommend having hand crossbows. Sometimes, especially if you went the Rogue Thief version of this, having an offhand attack with your crossbow is nice. So we can go with something like that. Now, our typical way about going through combat is we want to have our spiritual weapon summoned in. We want to have our Glyph of Warding set up. Sleep is a good one to go with. But also lightning or cold is a pretty decent option as well. So Glyph, of course, I started combat there. But yeah, the way we'd want to be going about that is we're going to be using our Invoke Duplicity. If you have a lot of martial classes, like if you have 3 fighters or something like that, this is great because they'll all have advantage on attack rolls when you place this down. So that's really great. Pass Without Trace will give us a +10 to stealth. So we want to go into stealth and attack as much as possible. We also have the Cloak of Shadows to get back into invisibility when we're in shadows. So stealth attacks will be a big bonus here because we get a nice amount of extra damage from them using our Blade of the First Blood, which will also give vulnerability. So while this build isn't the most powerful in the entire game, it's still pretty decent. So I just want to go over this because someone did request this. And yeah, that is the Rogue Trickster Cleric build guide from Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful, please hit that subscribe button below, and I'll see you all in the next video.